in three, two, and welcome everybody to another episode of the Planet Mullins podcast. We're in season 6, and I have just an incredible, young, talented musical genius, I'd have to say, with me today. And is it Persaud or Persaud?
You got it the first time, bro. A lot of people don't get it the first time, but you got it, bro.
It's Ricky Persaud Jr.
Yes.
Yeah, man. I mean, I started reading all the stuff in your bio, and I was like, how the heck did he do all this at such a young age? Because you got a 4-year scholarship to Berklee. That's worth, for those of you that don't know how much that costs, that's last I knew that was about $260,000 free. They just gave it to him. You just finished playing at the Cutting Room in NYC, which is like the place. Like, people wait for decades to get in the Cutting Room. So we got to talk about that. And you've got a new album out, Selena, which is amazing. And you've got another guy I know that I hung out with in December. Masa Takumi is part of that.
Yes, he is. And just a quick correction, it's a single.
Oh, it's a single. Okay. Yeah, okay, cool. It's a single. Well, Masa, I ran into him at this Grammy thing at the Biltmore Hotel, and Sekou Andrews was kind of emceeing, and it was Matt B and Eddie Kenzo's party for Gimme Love, like the single that's already been, we counted up the stolen Chinese downloads, and it was like 30 million, right? Just in China, and they found out by accident. But I met Masa at that Grammy thing. That's a good starting point. How did you guys, because he's winning all kinds of awards too. How did you guys hook up?
We met years ago at this indie collaborative event in LA.
Oh,
And we just kept this relationship going for years and years. And then he called me to play guitar for his own after party after the Grammys, after he won his Grammy.
okay.
And from that exchange, he realized I was a really good musician on top of being a really cool person. And that's when that collaboration and the talk started boiling over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot of times those two things don't really go together in the music industry, being a cool person and being a great musician. And I remember when I was young and first starting to get famous, the joke around LA was, man, if you don't know how good Rob Mullins is, just ask him and he'll tell you how good he is. So let's get right into the song that you released, and tell us about Selena, because there are, a couple of famous Selenas out there. The one that most of the people know more recently is Selena Gomez. But tell us about this particular Selena, Quintanilla Perez.
Well, fun fact, Selena Gomez was actually named after this person, the Selena that I'm talking about. Selena
Oh,
Quintanilla.
really?
Yeah. I've got to know about Selena through a Spanish teacher, because there was one point in my life where I was learning Spanish, and she
Uh-huh.
said, I think you really enjoy this artist." And then it's from that interaction is where I discovered Tejano music and Selena and her story, and I was just taken aback, just how amazing her music and how tragic her life had ended, unfortunately. And
What happened to her at the end? She died young, right?
yeah, what had happened was she basically had a stalker that basically stalked her and all that kind of stuff, and she ended up shooting Selena fatally. And it was just a terrible thing that happened in music history.
Well, had she recorded a lot of music before then? She was quite famous, right?
Yeah, she would have been even more famous if she kept going, because at the time she was just within the Latina X community, but she was trying to make a crossover to the American audience, but she never really got that chance. But
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, that's crazy, man. I remember when many years ago there was a TV show that came on after this one show I watched, and it was called Maria Mercedes, and it
Mm.
was this young Hispanic actress who was just kind of getting going, and then she got into her singing, and then she married um, the head of, either it was Arista or Sony, Tommy Mottola. And I'm trying to remember this gal's name, but it's a hard thing to make that break out of the Spanish market into the worldwide thing. And since you're as a global artist, it says here on the sheet that the song came to you in a dream. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was I dreamed of her often during that period when I was making the song. And it's crazy. It kind of makes me a little bit of emotional because I don't know if that was her trying to reach out to me in some way or form, but I heard this song in a dream. And what happened was I made a home demo. Then I was basically shopping it around to various different people to say, hey, do you think you can produce this for me? And
Mm.
that's when I came across Masa. And he was like, yeah, this is really cool, man. I want to fully flesh this out even more. And that's how that came about.
Oh, okay, so Masa is a producer as well.
Yeah. Oh, he's an amazing producer. Amazing. Not only he's just multi-talented all around.
And how many instruments do you play? Did you ever count it up? Because it seems like you play damn near everything.
Oh man, so I play the electric guitar, the bass, keyboards, harmonica, ukulele. I sing. Did I say play the drums? Yeah, I also play the drums and percussions, and I've been trying to learn the sax recently, but well, not recently, more like a couple of years ago. But yeah, all those things combined.
You know, I started out as a drummer, and my Cliff Notes story is I was a drummer that got hit by a car, and my mom was a piano player in the Baptist church. And in high school, I didn't walk for 2 years, so I just learned the piano at home because she was playing all these church tunes. And we were in Oklahoma where you got to play everything really straight, and she was putting all this Count Basie and Dave Brubeck into the church music,
Oh
and they would
wow.
call her into the back room for a scolding after church because you have to. I guess she was getting too soulful for all the people in Tulsa, Oklahoma, apparently. But on your own albums, do you like overdub and multi-track yourself a lot? Because I do that.
Yeah, and Masa definitely directed me to do those things to make sure that we're getting the best product as we absolutely can.
That's cool. So, did you record the stuff with him in America, or did you go to Japan, or how did it work?
We did things remotely. So like I would record in my studio that I have built here. And he would basically give me like tips, and he would even like call me and say, hey, you might want to do this at this particular point of the song. And it was kind of like that kind of interaction.
Oh, okay. So, you put the single out, and then on August 6th, you got to play the coolest room in all of New York City next to the Blue Note for us jazz guys, right? And
Yeah.
that's a place called the Cutting Room. And if you've never heard of the Cutting Room, it's like you got to be way up at the top to even get a shot at playing at that place. That must have been incredible, man.
Oh man, I remember like my first time being there, I was supporting another artist, and I was just so taken aback by just the atmosphere and the amazing people who worked there. It was just a dream come true. So when I got the chance to perform at my own show, it was just so cool, man. Like everyone is so cool. And I can't tell you that's so hard to come by in New York City, New York City these days for some reason. I don't know why, but the cutting room people, they got it.
Well, they always used to say, because I've spent a lot of time in New York and LA, and they always used to say that, in New York, you find out right away if somebody likes you or not. Like there's no sugarcoating it or whatever. But a New Yorker will be extremely rude to you in the beginning, and then they could end up being your best friend that'll go all the way to the ends of the earth for you while calling you a jerk. And it's true because you're laughing. And in LA, it's the opposite thing because everybody walks around all the time. Oh man, you sound great. Wow, man, that was great. Oh yeah, what about that guitar part? Oh man, that sounded great. And then you get out of the room and they're like, man, that guy should sell his guitar. He's terrible. Oh no, here he comes back. Here he comes. Oh yeah, it was phenomenal, bro. So good. And you're laughing again because you know how true that is, right? So the
A lot
other
of kids,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say a lot of people at Berkeley are kind of like that in a way, like those LA people. So I know what that's like.
Yeah, I mean, what was it like? Did you do well, it says magna cum laude or electric guitar cone salsa or something. Now, did you finish a program there and graduate with a degree and all that?
Yeah, summa cum laude is like the highest you can achieve grade wise.
Okay.
And considering that I was on a full ride scholarship, I couldn't like slack in grades at all. So I made sure that I was getting the highest grades I can possibly get.
It's a
And
lot of
I
work.
graduated last year, early last year.
Okay. So I've written a ton of recommendation letters for my students that have wanted to go to Berklee, right?
Hmm.
And I even played a concert, a private concert for Lee Burke, who's the Burke in Berklee. I
Hmm.
played a concert for him in New Mexico a few years ago, and he was like 150 years old then. I think he's probably dead by now, but Berkeley has a lot of things associated with its reputation. And one of the challenges that many students that have gone, they finish my program, they get into Berkeley, they come back to LA, and then they would look at me and say, okay, I got the degree, I spent all this money. Now what do I do?
Mm.
And for you, you seem to have solved that problem. How would you advise a person just getting out of Berkeley now about how to create an opportunity? Because you've obviously capitalized on all of that.
Well, when I was studying at Berkeley, I made sure that one of my main concentrations was in music business. Because when
Mm.
you look into business, that's what can take you to the next level once you leave college. That's the biggest problem. I don't know why a lot of music kids they don't take business. They just focus on the performing and the songwriting, but that's like half of the pie.
Ah,
And it's because of that business training, excuse me. It was because of that business training that I was able to really go to the next level when I leave college. So if I were to give advice to someone who didn't take business and trying to make a name for themselves, they need to get into a lot of different independent groups because it's within these groups where you're able to make connections, and it's these connections that can really propel you to the next level.
man, exactly. Because the thing that a lot of students came back with as well after they'd be back in LA and they kind of come back like, oh, Mr. Mullins, I'm so depressed because we're in all this debt and now I don't have a job and this and that. I'd say, well, what was the positive thing? And they would say, well, I met a lot of people. And dude, that Berkeley alumni network is worth every penny that a student would spend because Berkeley's been around forever. And it's almost like, me being a voting member at the Grammys, like you don't even realize how many people you're associated with and how many people are in that network until you're in it.
Mm,
And the
yeah.
Berkeley network is that way too, because it goes all the way back into the 70s. And you
Yeah.
would see Berkeley grad, Berkeley alumni. Those two words, Berkeley alumni, can, for a motivated business savvy person like you, they can open a lot of doors.
Mm.
So are you going to tour sometime soon? When are you going to come to LA and play somewhere where I can come meet you?
Um, I still have some things up in the air, but I'm definitely coming to LA to do some shows sometime soon. And what I can say is that well, actually I shouldn't say anything about that soon, but I have a collaboration with Copus for which Lonnie Park is actually mixing that album that's
Wow.
coming up soon. So I'm playing guitar on a couple of tunes on that album. So that's something you can look forward to.
Well, for those of you that have seen the Lonnie Park episode on my show, he is an amazing producer and engineer, and he actually recently completed the Ricky Cage and Stuart Copeland Police Without Borders album, which is new versions of all the Police's stuff from a global perspective. And
Mm.
Lonnie was the nicest, most down to earth New Jersey cat, man. When he came on the show, I was like, I almost wanted to tap the screen and say, bro, are you still breathing? Because he was so chill. And I said, how do you stay so calm? You get all these high strung New Yorkers come in and they love themselves and they got an entourage and this and that. And he says, I just stay low key and calm and focus on getting the work done.
Mm.
So, man, well, I appreciate your advice for the young students. It's great to have you on the show. I'm hoping we can maybe even play together a little bit remotely or some other way and in the future. I mean, I love the music. It sounds great. And you're just at the beginning of your career right now, man.
Yeah, and most recently I've been adding dance lessons, acting lessons, and vocal lessons just to add to my overall artistry to be even more,
Wow.
crazy in the music scene. So I'm working at it, man, and yeah, I'm going straight to the top.
That's awesome. Well, don't forget that a lot of the younger artists, no one gave them sleeping and relaxation lessons.
Mm.
And you have to have a certain amount of that in there, especially if you're pushing really, really hard. Because that thing about you having a dream and the song coming to you, those are the moments really to focus on. Because when that divine inspiration or that other planetary thing comes in, um, the way Matt B described it, he said, it's like there's an ether out there and you're just pulling things out of this giant soup of inspirational ideas. Whenever that happens, that's going to carry you just as far as a dance class or, learning 10 languages or whatever. Because I studied drums, but I didn't really study piano, but I got into all these other things, especially that cosmic connection to the source where all the music comes from the outside source. And I managed to do 43 albums as a piano player. I guess I'm fooling everybody without taking piano lessons.
Hey, God bless you, man. God bless you.
So, okay, anything you want to say as we wrap up? What's your website and your social media stuff?
My personal website is just Ricky Persaud Jr. It's just RICKYPERSAUDJR. You can follow me on my social medias with the same name, Ricky Persaud Jr.
Okay.
And yeah, I got a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipeline, a lot of cool collaborations that I can't talk about right now, but
Okay.
it will reveal themselves on the social media. So look forward to that.
I will, man. Well, thanks again for coming on. And folks, watch out for this guy in the future because he's got all the tools in the toolbox. He's obviously, a very level-headed and talented young man. I wish you all the best with the future and everything else you're doing, man. So
Thank
that's
you.
going to
Thank you.
wrap it up for this episode of the Planet Mullins podcast. And as always, you can find the show on YouTube. It comes out a couple of days later on Spotify and Amazon and Apple and all that. All right. Thanks again, Ricky. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me, man.